It's time! And now, introducing your host, fighting out of Las Vegas, Nevada, by way of Boston, Massachusetts, presenting live,
the Bostonian versus the Book. Follow the show on Twitter at Boston versus the Book.
Here he is, Matt Perron!
Enjoy the show, enjoy the show, enjoy the show, enjoy the show.
Hey guys, how are you? Welcome into a Bet Chris Arizona Thursday for the Bostonian versus the Book. My name's Matt Perrault. You guys can follow me across all of my socials here. Well, me at Sports Talk Matt, but more than just me. We're live on our YouTube channel. We're replayed on Sports Grid Television at Boston versus the Book for YouTube and X, Sports Grid TV on the replay, 10 p.m. Pacific time, 1 a.m. Eastern time every weeknight, and your audio podcasts wherever you guys get your audio podcasts. Okay, so it's Thursday. So here's how today is going to go. This is, again, one of our new and old combination show. There's going to be a rabbit hole. We're jumping down it with our friends at Rabbit at the end of the program. That will be some new content. You're going to get a couple of old clips here at the front of the show today. We're going to do our 4-year anniversary look back for the opening line. Then Adam Bjorn, our conversation with Bet Chris Arizona's own Adam Bjorn from Manila, which we talked to him on Tuesday. So we're going to replay you that conversation here on Thursday in case you missed it. We'll do a news of the industry on the overall NFL betting. If you guys on Sports Grid, you're watching on Sports Grid, you did not see that. That was in bonus time on Tuesday. So we will get to that coming up here on the program. And then we'll end the show with the rabbit, jumping down the rabbit hole with our friends at Rabbit. So there's your show for today. There is a live chat rolling. We have figured this out as to how to have it when the show comes out, and it's on YouTube and there's a live chat. So it looks like I'm live, even though technically I'm in New Orleans right now. So same show coming, same type of show coming tomorrow, maybe more content tomorrow, depending on how things roll. But first and foremost, let's get into it. It's the opening line. Me. All right. December 13th, 2021. Top 5 things in sports that happened since we started BVB. Let's go at number 5. And I know this might be a weird one, but I do think this is a huge deal. Steph Curry became the all-time 3-point leading bucket getter in NBA history. He passed Ray Allen for that mark. Now, why is that so significant? Well, it is to me. One, he did it at MSG, which is obviously one of the most historic basketball courts ever. But this was, the NBA had already started to change. The NBA had already started to become a league in which was heavily reliant upon three-point shooting. But when Curry passed Ray Allen and became the all-time 3-point bucket getter, people started to, and coaches started to really position their entire offenses around the 3-point shot. And we have seen in the wake of Curry and the Warriors, we have seen 3-and-D defensive 3-and-D wings be the number one most coveted thing in the NBA. If you can play defense and you can rebound and you can shoot threes, you will work in the NBA right now for the next 10 years. And there's been so many players that I've covered in college and so many players I've watched turn themselves into this. The story of Anthony Tolliver is a guy, if you don't know who he is, a Creighton basketball player who almost didn't play D1 basketball. He turned himself into a 15-year career for a 3-and-D guy who could play defense, rebound, and shoot the three. Well, Curry showed that you can build full offenses around 3-and-D guys, around your guards, and not your bigs. Because for the longest time, the NBA was a big man league, right? Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant. You had your point guard who could dribble, drive, and get to the rim, and you have Shaq getting the rebound or Shaq posting up, right? So then the Warriors came along with this guard who hit threes from everywhere. And now you had teams that started to build full rosters. Like we saw full commitment to the 3-point shot. And we have just continued it over the last 4 years. We have just seen more and more offenses in the NBA be focused. The Celtics shot more threes than anybody else in their championship season. They just jacked 3 after 3 after 3. And they win the championship, and they have, a young head coach in Joe Mazzulla who preaches defense, but also preaches jacking as many threes as possible. And he's brought in guys like Peyton Pritchard, where 10 years ago, I'm not sure Peyton Pritchard winds up in the NBA long term. But now Peyton Pritchard wins the 6th Man of the Year award last year because he shoots threes at a 50, 60% clip and plays defense well enough to be on the court. Curry passing Ray Allen cemented the idea that the 3-point shot is the most important shot in basketball. And that wasn't the case 10 years ago. It is the case today. Number 4, the Rams won their first Super Bowl in a building that was their home. The Rams played at SoFi in LA against the Bengals. They beat the Bengals. They win their first championship in forever. And the Rams become the first team ever to win a championship in the NFL in their home stadium. It had never happened before. But for BVB, our first ever appearance in the Super Bowl. We were live for Radio Row. The show began in December. And the following February, we were live on Radio Row for the first time. It was also one of the first times we ever saw a sports book like FanDuel have large broadcasting properties, stages set up. And it was wild. I mean, it was really one of the crazier things to take a step back and look at what was going on in America. We went to Los Angeles. It was not a legal state. You still can't sports gamble in LA, but you had Radio Row and you had sports books all over the place. And we had our first ever appearance. We then went LA, Arizona, and Las Vegas. We did not go to the Super Bowl. BVB up to San Francisco coming up, and it'll be 4 times in 5 years for us to be at the Super Bowl. But Radio Row, I'll never forget McAfee. Pat was a big deal, but Pat was still with FanDuel, and Pat was still trying to really build the empire. And Pat McAfee did an interview with literally anyone that asked him. After we did that interview, when Dave and I talked to Pat, part of the things I talked to him was about that, because he was doing interviews with the local college kids who were on Radio Row. Anybody that asked Pat to talk, Pat talked. One college kid asked Pat to snap him. If he could snap the ball to him. He was a long snapper in high school, and he asked Pat, "Hey, can you grade how I am as a long snapper to snap the ball back as a punter?" And Pat said, "Sure." And so in the middle of Radio Row, we're watching this college kid bend over a football and fire it to Pat McAfee. Like, it was unbelievable to watch. And it was great, I think, for me as being a guy who's pretty, I'm significantly older than Pat. I'm 48. So Pat's in his mid-30s. And to watch how everyone was falling over themselves to interview and talk to Pat McAfee. And Dave's relationship predated most of this stuff. I mean, Pat and Dave knew each other for a long time. And Pat and Dave and Gump. And, when we started planning out BVB, I don't think we had the intention of looking up to the Pat McAfee show, but I think it was always in the back of our minds. And we would see Pat every year at the Super Bowl, and we'd watch him grow and grow and grow and get bigger and bigger and bigger, to the point where I don't think in San Francisco, I don't think Pat will be on Radio Row. I think Pat will have his own set. He's that level. Now, he doesn't need to go where everybody else is. Pat just needs to go and be Pat. Pat just needs to go and do his own thing. People will go to McAfee, not vice versa. McAfee's not going to where everybody is. Everyone's going to go to Pat McAfee. So that was really fun to kind of to be there, to see that experience, to be in Los Angeles for the first time. You know, Dave and I bouncing around doing Dave, I think he did 100 interviews that week. That week, you know, we were there Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I think we missed Monday. Do that the next year in Arizona. I think Monday and Tuesday were dead days. It was not worth being there for Monday and Tuesday. It really picked up Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So I think we went there for Arizona, but that was number 3. Number 4. Number 3, we've only seen one, but it did happen. During the BBB era, we did see a Celtics championship. Number 18 for the Boston Celtics. There will be more, and you guys will have to endure and deal with the insufferable nature of Boston fans as to how things go when the Patriots are there, or the Bruins, or the Celtics. And here with this championship here for the Celtics to come in. Number 3, Celtics championship. I was worried, by the way, you guys are saying about phrases. I was worried about phrases today because there was some funkiness going on with StreamYard in the morning, this morning. So this is not a surprise that this is actually not a me issue. I know I often say that like it's not my fault. It's actually not my fault because I was watching the StreamYard before we got rolling. So this is an internet issue but not a me internet issue. This is a StreamYard being overloaded issue. Why? I don't really know why StreamYard is overloaded today, but it's definitely overloaded. It's definitely overloaded at the moment for whatever reason. So I do apologize if we're having some technical difficulties. Thank you for staying with us. Number 2, Ohtani. He goes to the Dodgers for $700 million, immediately wins back-to-back titles. Ohtani watch becomes a permanent part of BVB, and yet the gambling scandal is still going to be a major deal and a major point to talk about when it comes to Ohtani. And he has crossed over all angles of this show, whether it be dominant performances, whether it be championships, whether it be major free agent signings, or whether it be a gigantic gambling scandal. Shohei Ohtani has been a monster part of this show. And for 4 years, we have spent time marveling, we've spent time talking, and we spent time analyzing all sorts of the good and the bad of Shohei Ohtani. And there's a lot of good, and there's a lot of bad when it comes to Ohtani. The off-the-field stuff with his interpreter, who now sits in a federal penitentiary, that's something that will always follow him, at least on this show. It will follow Shohei Ohtani, as will the back-to-back MVP dominant seasons with the Dodgers, leading them to a World Series championship without being 100% healthy as a pitcher. And next year, as the Dodgers go for a three-peat, they're going to get the full Shohei Ohtani experience, which I think for anybody in baseball is really difficult and dangerous to think about, right? Because the Dodgers just keep on adding, just got Edwin Diaz from the Mets. They keep on adding, they keep on getting better, they keep on spending money, and they keep on winning. And they have done so without Shohei Ohtani being the Angels version of Shohei Ohtani. That is significant. Like, that is absolutely, completely significant on this. So, number one sports moments here for us in the opening line. This is not BVB moments, but it's sports moments. It has to be Las Vegas hosting the Super Bowl. After all the talk about this town being hell on earth, how Vegas was a landscape of degenerates, and if sports gambling became legalized, we would see the literal end of the NFL. That was said by previous commissioners, that if sports gambling was legalized in America, the NFL would never be able to exist. Well, it existed. It happened. We went and did the show live. It was an awesome experience, and nothing changed. The world didn't fall apart. We didn't have some major, gigantic scandal involving the game. Nobody fixed anything in the Super Bowl. It is what it is. It went down the way it went down. But Vegas hosted a Super Bowl, and I think Vegas did an absolutely bang-up job hosting the Super Bowl. I liked LA. Arizona was different. I wasn't a gigantic fan of the setup in Arizona. I thought it was a little bit too spread out. I thought Vegas did it right. I thought Vegas was able to do some really cool things and different things because of the proximity to the to Allegiant Stadium, because of the fact that you had all the hotels so close. It was all walking distance. The weather cooperated. It wasn't that bad. It was raining. If I remember, it was raining for a couple of the days, but nothing crazy. It was just done really well. And you would expect that to happen. It's Vegas, right? We know how to do big events. But I remember Dave and I spent so much time talking about the buildup for 2 years, basically talking about what it was going to be like. We went to LA and we went to Arizona because we wanted to have the experience of those 2 Super Bowls, because we knew Vegas was going to have a Super Bowl. And we thought, oh my gosh, Vegas is going to have a Super Bowl. This is incredible that Vegas, the place that everyone was said that could not have a World Series, or sorry, a Super Bowl or a major sporting event, whether it be the Stanley Cup or whether it be the World Series or whether it be NBA championship, right? That like we were good enough to have things like last night, the NBA Cup type stuff, right? We'll have one-off little, these little events. You'll have that, like the F1 race, right? You'll have stuff like that. But you're not getting the granddaddy. You're not getting the biggest sporting event in American sports history. We're not giving you something that valuable. And when they gave the Super Bowl to Vegas, so many people were like, this is a bad idea. And it was incredible. It went off without a hitch. It was the biggest moment in this for us, for BVB. It was the biggest sporting event. It was the biggest sports moment in the 4-year history of this show that Vegas hosted a Super Bowl. We're getting one again. I think it's 2032, right? That's coming back, 2031. Somewhere in that range. Vegas is getting another one. And I have long said there should be a rotation of about 6 cities, and that's it. They're not going to do that. They have dreams of sending the damn game to Europe. So they're not going to do that. But I still think we should be talking about SoFi, Arizona, Houston, Vegas, Florida, and Miami, maybe Dallas. That's about it. I mean, you should be sick. New Orleans, 6, 7 cities. That's it. And you just go and bounce around because they have proven they can do it. People like going to those cities. The cities like to have the events. That's also important, right? Sometimes cities get annoyed when you bring in all these new people. They don't like it. So sometimes it's frustrating. It's different because they're not accustomed to having people, thousands and thousands of people coming into town. So these are big events and big moments, and Vegas should have a ton of these. I think there should be an opportunity to have. I don't like cold weather. Okay. I don't mind outdoors, but it must be an outdoor warm stadium. And I don't really agree with San Francisco. I don't agree with San Francisco. I don't agree with Chicago. I don't agree with Detroit. I don't agree with New York. I don't agree with any of these cold cities, dome or not. I don't believe in cold cities getting Super Bowls. I don't care if you build a stadium or not, Minnesota. I don't care, what you do, Buffalo. You're not getting a Super Bowl. Like you're just not. So that to me, those are the 5 biggest events. You guys can put your own thoughts as to the last 4 years from a sporting perspective. But I think Steph Curry breaking Ray Allen's mark was gigantic. It happened right before the show started, by the way. On the 13th, the show started on the 13th. On the 14th, he broke the record. So actually, it started just afterwards. So on the second day, Steph Curry broke the record. So we started the show Monday the 13th. On Tuesday the 14th, 2021, Steph Curry broke the record. Then the Rams win the first ever home game Super Bowl against the Bengals. BVB goes live from Radio Row for the first time. Celtics win first Boston championship in the BVB era. 2, Ohtani going to the Dodgers for $700 million, winning back-to-back titles immediately. And number 1, Vegas hosting the Super Bowl, something that was never going to be allowed. It was never going to have to be there on these things. Now, I know you guys are putting up your own favorite BVB moments, and we can go through all that, but we did that when Dave passed in September. You know, I went back and watched the video, and we've done this already. So I wanted to do that. We'll play the audio from the first ever show in bonus time. And that I thought was an appropriate way, rather than like replaying and redoing the show we did back in September. That show is available. If you guys want to go check it out, you can go look at the Dave Tribute show. That video is on our YouTube channel. You can just scroll down and watch it. So if you want to relive that show, go right ahead. I'm totally down with that. And I appreciate you guys doing that. But because we did that show already, I didn't want to do that show again today. I wanted to do this type of show and give you guys, a legitimate sports show on this, a way of talking about sports, a way of watching it, remembering Dave. We're going to obviously hearing his voice is wild. Like, just brace yourself. In a half an hour, I'm going to play this, but it's like, whoa, seeing him, those pictures are tough enough, but the first ever episode of BBB audio wise is quite like, whoa. So we'll do that coming up here in a couple minutes. So stay tuned for that. But where is Adam Bjorn? All right, my friend. I'm guessing it's the middle of the night. Welcome back to the show. Where are you?
It is the middle of the night. It's actually 2:19 a.m. here in Manila.
So you said I'll take people behind the scenes. You sent me a text message an hour ago, and you're like, "I'm up. Let's talk."
Yeah,
like,
I was still awake. So if you needed anything, just holler out.
It's tremendous, absolutely tremendous. So is this business or pleasure? Why are you over there?
This is business. We have a trading team in Manila. I did night shifts for probably 15, 20 years. In Australia, I was doing US sports. I moved to Jamaica and I was doing Australian and European sports. And when I first went to BetChris to do some trading and risk management, I was like, I never want to do night shifts again. How do we solve this? So we built a team about 8-9 years ago in the Philippines. And yeah, so a lot of us don't have to do night shifts anymore. We built a robust team, 100+ traders that are just very efficient and on top of things. And you can kind of wake up in the morning without all that stress that we had for many, many years.
So, like, what's your default time zone? Like, what's your body clock? Because the amount of time zones you were in, I get why you're awake, because I'm assuming, like, it's the middle of the day Michigan time for your body clock, no?
Yeah, so, I mean, I was in Barcelona Thursday, Miami Friday, San Fran Sunday, Manila Monday. And a lot of people say, what about jet lag? And it's something that I've argued for probably 20, 30 years. I don't know what jet lag is. I don't understand what jet lag is. I don't know if I'm just always tired or always busy or what it is. But I've never, really felt like I get taken out for days that I hear these other people speak of. So, I got in here, I don't know what day it is. It's Tuesday, 9 o'clock Monday night. I had our Prime Suspects podcast yesterday at 3 a.m. I was up at 8 a.m. for a meeting. I was in the office for a big chunk of today. Went out to some cockfighting tonight and then got back and, yeah, here we are.
Wait, what? What? Where are you going? Hold on. Time out.
So it just so happened as I was in the office today, they're saying the best of the best cocks and breeders of cocks are in Manila having the World Championships tonight. And so we went there and we watched about 20 fights. We placed our bets.
Wow.
We enjoyed the time. And yeah, that was the evening.
That is amazing. Did you do well?
No.
How's the handicap going on that?
No, it didn't do well. So I've been to them 3 times. First time was Philippines about 16, 17 years ago. Went on a hot streak, won like 13 or 15 fights. Then my son and I went to them in Jamaica, and we were the bookies, hand-to-hand betting. We were giving away money as we were walking to the car because it was dark and we needed to get home safely. So we were like giving away. And then tonight I actually flew my son in from Australia so we could catch up for a week. And went again tonight. And we were kind of hosted by a group, and I would have loved to have been the bookie in this situation, but I was kind of just having to follow them and let them do what they were doing and whatnot. So, yeah, I mean, I know there's a lot of people that don't really like that stuff and have strong opinions, but it was a bit of fun. We had a good night out and, when in Rome.
Yeah, it's a cultural thing. So it's one. So, I know it's huge over there.
I will add, and I didn't know this, but we were at the stadium where the Thriller in Manila was held, and they actually had posters of Frazier and Ali there as well, because Manny Pacquiao put on a 50th anniversary last year at the stadium. So we went to see fights in the stadium that Ali and Frazier fought in 51 years ago. So
very cool. Very cool. All right, let's get to the game because it's early and we'll talk about it a ton next week in San Francisco. But we do have a little bit of a line move with you guys because yesterday you were at 4.5 for Seattle. This morning you're at 5. So what action did you guys take early? What number did you open up at? And where has the money been taken?
Yeah, so since it opened up, we opened 4.5, went to 5, went to 5.5, back to 5, down to 4.5, and now back up to 5. On the overall money, there is a lot of money on this game. People are betting it way earlier than I suspected, but it's super well balanced. And then on the master chart, we are 94% of the master money is on the Seahawks.
Wow.
However, when I sort of dug into it, about 75% of that is at -3, where someone laid a big number, and -2.5, where they laid like 85 cents. So there is some picking money around the -5, -4.5, and there's really just dribs and drabs on the Patriots from the Masters on the spread right now.
How much does the future market dictate what happens to you guys from a line movement perspective? If you're getting heavy on one side, does that future money, does that matter? Because by accounts that we've read earlier, there wasn't a lot of future money on the Patriots or Seattle. Are you guys light in the future market?
So going into last week, all 4 teams were big winners, and these 2 were right up the top of the tree. So that money's already been put in the pocket, forgotten about, and just dealing with the game, because it just so happened that, both these teams were big odds at the start of the season, shortened in a manner where people didn't really want to jump into them at any point in time. So yeah, it was on the future side, really good book. Had the 4 all winners last week for good amounts as well. So just sort of, dealing with it in that manner.
What do you think? And we'll talk about it next week, obviously, because we have time, but do you think that we're going to see early money and then that will lighten it up late? Or are we going to see just consistent action all the way through? And this number is going to ping pong around between 5.5 and 4.5 for the next week and a half.
Yeah. Well, the thing is 5.5, 4.5, 5.5, it could ping pong around all the time. It's not, any sort of serious number or any danger where a bookie's going, oh no, I don't want to be stuck with 5.
Yeah.
While, the numbers aren't what they used to be. This is going to be played as tight as possible, field goals if needed, overtime if needed, and all those kind of fun things. So I imagine this will keep sort of bopping around for it. But yeah, I was surprised. And I was surprised last week, like how much money when we spoke Friday, like how much money there was Friday, and then that just upped Saturday and then Sunday, and the live betting was enormous. But yeah, this one just feels like they're, coming very early, but very consistently. So it just seems like they'll keep chipping away at it.
The total now at 46, 45.5, I'm assuming was the open for you guys. We saw that a couple days ago with you guys, or yesterday. We saw that with you guys. What are you seeing? And is it consistent with the money that you're seeing from the side, or are we seeing more or less money on the total right now?
So we actually opened at 47, went to 46.5 pretty quickly, 46, and then it popped up for a few moments at the 45.5. We got 62% of the money is on the under. 78% of the master money is on the under. And looking at it, is majority of it was under 47, under 46.5. Bit the other way, buying at the over 45, 45.5, but 46 is really not a lot there.
Interesting. What do you think that number closes at? Because obviously 43, 44, key number is up to 47. Is it the same thing with like 4.5 and 5.5, or we're just going to go back and forth and kind of ping pong around because there's no real key number between 44 and 47?
I imagine so, but when I saw it originally, I thought it felt a little light.
Me too. Yep, I bet it right. Yeah.
Being a Super Bowl, the way these things play out, I mean, usually you'd come into it thinking, the thing should be mid-40s, high 40s, and they'd come out with 53, 53.5, stuff like that. So I'm kind of surprised that they've, got it at this number with how these games can sort of blow open at the end and things like that as well. So I guess with the live betting and the expectations that the first quarter, first half are kind of probably, played tight, then, there's opportunity for that number to sink and then blow out and those things. So maybe they just look at it different these days.
Yeah, 45.5. I bet over. I'm with you. I already bet it. It's the first bet I made because I think it does. I think it is light. I think the Rams showed that you can score on these Seahawks, on this Seahawks defense. I think the Patriots are going to be able to put some points up on Seattle. And equally, I think Seattle is going to be able to score on the Patriots. I haven't ever asked you this question, and I'm curious. Do you like outdoor sports or do you prefer domes?
Oh, no, I'm outdoors. I like to see the blue sky and whatnot and have a bit of weather throw-in occasionally. Not the Chicago game weather, but I don't mind a bit of, alternate sort of implications. I think last week was a good example. The models and that can't read the snow blizzards coming in the second half, and that's the opportunity for bettors. And the smart bookies can kind of play that game as well. So I like the elements. I guess that's why I like golf in Britain and Ireland instead of, the pitch and putt games in the US. So, weather's a great part of sports betting.
I agree. And I think not just from a viewership standpoint, from a betting perspective. And we talked about it yesterday, but like the football that we're watching in America, there's this huge rush to have domes. And we've seen a lot of prominent media members say that this is why the NFL needs to be played in domes. If they actually decided, I doubt they're going to, but there is a push now to play the championship games on a neutral field. How would that impact the way you guys book it if we're playing 3 games on neutrals instead of 1 in the playoffs?
Again, you're going to factor in the home field advantage, so you take that out, and then suddenly it's neutrals. I mean, they plan these things well ahead, and I think that the fact that there is an opportunity for a random team to get a home Super Bowl every so often that it's in their city. Yes, some cities don't get that opportunity. Others get it more often than others. Like I guess Miami back in the day sort of got a lot of Super Bowls down their way. But for me, teams play all season for this opportunity. Those ones that know they have the Super Bowl at home probably dig in a little deeper to try and get that home game. It's just part of what it is.
Does the threat, and I don't think it's going to, but like the fact this game is potentially, it's outdoors, it's in Northern California, not Southern California, that weather might be a questionable come next weekend. How does that have to be factored in to a total perspective if there is going to be the potential for rain?
Well, I mean, it's just an element. It's kind of handicapping the thing. Someone sort of mentioned the other day about having people on, at these games being able to see the weather come in and all those aspects, the wind. I mean, Wrigley Field in baseball, years ago, people there. I mean, we used to have somebody, or at least a contact or a groundsman at cricket test matches because the rain was worth so much. So when you could see that rain coming in, there was value having someone sitting in the ground, had some meteorology background or access, and would even go there 3-4 days before to understand where the weather was at and potentially, brought the draw into play. So weather's just part of the, the handicapping procedures. So, it's football. Come on. Like, it's kind of meant to be played in the rain and the mud and all those kind of things. That's what we grew up on. So, if they play it all indoors, then isn't that arena football, not the actual NFL? So, I'm sort of old school to probably a fault where there's just things that we grew up on that should be left alone and just let them play out. Yes, protect the players, protect the quarterbacks, all that kind of jazz, but let them play. Let them play the games.
If the Buffalo Bills built a stadium that does not have a roof, nobody should have a roof. The Bears, the Browns, the Chiefs, like all these new stadiums that they're building to have domes, I think is such a mistake and such a loss of what the game is supposed to be. I'm okay with gimmicky things like Indianapolis or Minnesota. Like once in a while, you have a couple of domes, but not everybody. I mean, football's not meant to be played indoors, and we're way too many domes.
Yeah, I mean, doesn't just that lose their massive advantage that they just have had for so many years, and just building their team around that and almost hoping that they get that weather when it comes December and January when they're in that situation. I think that, teams need all the advantage they can play into at times, and that's just another one of them.
Yeah, Chicago basically, they had a home playoff game against the Rams, and the weather, they lost in overtime, but they had a chance. If Caleb doesn't get picked off in overtime, they had the football with a chance to go down and kick a game-winning field goal. And that's why you play all year long, to get that game in your building at home, to have that advantage over the Rams. So I don't get it. I know having a Super Bowl is great and all, but like consistently over the course of 20, 30 years, however long that stadium's going to be around for, to play in a dome, I think is just it's a huge mistake. It makes it boring with betting. I love betting win games. I love betting weather games. Like it's just a lot of fun when you have that added element. Like you mentioned, Wrigley Field with the Cubs. Like it's cool. Which direction the wind blowing, in or out? Like you got to go and look at it and try to handicap it. So I love it. I don't fully get the whole push for the NFL, but from a betting perspective, I think it would be a huge mistake. Speaking of not mistakes, but speaking of the betting perspective, what do you perceive for this game with the Patriots and the Seahawks, just overall from an interest standpoint? Do you think it's going to be on par, it's going to be big, or could it be a bit depressed because of the two teams that are in it?
I think it's somewhere sort of in the mid-range to higher. It's not the low end where, what the NBA playoffs finals were a little bit, where people were sort of going, well, what do we want to watch these two teams for? I think the Patriots, have kind of got that element of, they're back, and they've got that following on and this is kind of, this is where it's always good with East and West. You'll have all your East Coast kind of supporting the Eastern Coast team, or they're like, screw that, I want the West Coast team because my East Coast team didn't make it, and then vice versa on the West Coast as well, all those supporting that side. So I think this one will have decent viewership. I think it's going to be a good game, potentially has the ability to be a really good game, some back and forth and points on the board. So I know there's been mention of the halftime show and all these other different little things along the way, but I think based on last week, this is the best matchup to have come out of last week's two games.
I would agree. Do you think people are going to hate bet against the Patriots? It feels like everybody wants the Patriots to lose, and I feel like you could be seeing some action, people just betting against the Patriots because they hate them.
Yeah, I feel that. I mean, I was on the wrong side of Brady for a long time until he actually, won me a lot of money when I was on Tampa Bay the year he won there. So I'd sort of forgiven him sort of 80% of the way. But yeah, I think Patriots, Red Sox, once they kind of won it and broke those streaks, it's like, screw them. They've had enough. Move on.
12 Super Bowls, Adam. When I saw them in 86 lose to the Bears, I thought the Patriots would never win one. And I thought that was it. And then in 96, they went and they lost to the Packers and Brett Favre. And I thought they'll never win one. The fact that they're playing for their 7th championship in my lifetime doesn't make sense to anybody who grew up outside of Boston. Like we don't understand. It doesn't make any sense to us.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I grew up with something similar, losing 4 Super Bowls in the Aussie rules in 6 years as a teenager, and kind of got to the point where whenever I bet them, they'd lose. Whenever I bet against them, they'd win. And then by the time I'd moved to Jamaica and kind of lost a bit of contact with it, they won 3 or 4 in like 6 or 7 years. And I was like, what the heck?
Mikey's got a question because I've been DMing with Mikey about this because my girlfriend she's not a big sports fan, but immediately when this popped, when the All Blacks were coming to DC, she sent me a note and said, I want to go to this in April. what makes this such an amazing event to go to? And are you going to go to it in April when they play in DC?
So that's funny because there was a conversation just yesterday about is the rugby league going back to Vegas, which they are in, I believe, February going back there, which I was surprised at how much hype and build up that got there last year. Yep. Now with the rugby union, All Blacks, pretty much the top team in rugby union for a very, very long time, kind of the one that everyone sort of pitted himself against. So yeah, I'm surprised that they're bringing it over this side, but that's just the way that all these games are going. I mean, everyone's trying to move their sports into other parts of the world. You got a massive expats communities in the US, plus US just consume everything. So if you can get your sport into kind of the niche of the US and get a following and whatnot, it can just add, so much revenue, so much sort of visibility on it as well. So I haven't seen the game, didn't know it was on, but interested in seeing who are they playing.
I don't actually know. I just know that they're coming over and they're playing, and the conversation was it's a cultural phenomenon beyond just a sporting event when they come over here to play. And so it's something that has to be seen, forget the game itself, but the actual stuff all around the All Blacks is what makes it such a significant thing. Is that fair?
Yeah, just the intro. Being in a stadium, watching the All Blacks do a haka is worth the admission fee right there. There you go. That's exactly what it is. There's national anthems around the world, when you go to Olympics and things like that. There's certain ones that sort of, chill the hairs on your arms and stuff like that when they sort of finish. The haka in the rugby union and when those island nations do it, but in particular when the All Blacks do it, is just one of those moments that is just, again, worth the admission fee and the experience.
All right, cool. I'll have to go. It's in April in DC. It's a bucket list thing. I've been told that I have to experience it. So very well might be heading to DC to check that out. Adam, thank you. We will see you in San Francisco next Thursday, a week from this Thursday. We'll see you live in person. The guest list, I'll send you some other options. We got some good people stopping by on Thursday to chit chat with us for football. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Thank you for being here. Thank you for staying up really late. Get some sleep, and we'll talk to you in a week in San Francisco. Time for the news of the industry. So I asked this question of Adam Bjorn earlier in the show, and I want to kind of pick it up and dovetail off of it, because there are some people who are pretty adamant that the NFL is going to be down this year from a betting perspective because of the Patriots and the Seahawks. And that would continue a trend of NFL bettors wagering less than expected at regulated sportsbooks. This is according to our friends at ingame.com. Optimove issued a report that found parlays remained popular, but live betting was not the boon that operators had anticipated. Adam has seen tremendous live betting at BetCris Arizona, so they don't really factor into this. But pre-game betting versus live betting for planned versus actual, the planned was for 48% of all the handle to come in on pre-game betting. It's actually been 50%. There was 31% in-game betting that they anticipated this year during the NFL as they planned on live markets. Only 17% actually came in. So if you average that out, 21% for both in-game and pre-game betting, 33% came in both. This is according to a survey from Optimove. Findings from observed behavior of nearly 4 million bettors, which is a big number, and using preseason and follow-up surveys of 425 others, which is a bit low, underscore a potentially troubling trend for the domestic sports betting industry, specifically the nation's most popular league, failed to generate the expected traction for live betting, which is considered a long-term profit generator for sportsbooks. Said the Optimove report, quote, NFL bettors are directly honest about how they want to bet, but consistently overestimate how often, how live, and how much they'll wager, especially once the season begins. The study by Optimove, an engagement solution firm for the iGaming and sports betting operators, included data from the beginning of the season through the wild card round. A full 75% said they bet in the regular season, almost exactly matching preseason interest, according to the study. Just 15% bet during the first round of the playoffs, although 48% said that they would. Low stake, high frequency bets dominated. The default stake band was defined between $11 and $50, with higher increments significantly rarer. That may change deeper in the postseason, according to the report, based on how betting typically behaves as stakes rise. We expect a concentration effect, fewer days, bigger moments. One noteworthy observation, parlay bettors bet parlays. Shocker. There were 72% of those who said that they would bet parlays, and 70% did. Here's the thing, and why this should not be shocking to anybody on this. It's not prediction markets that are cutting into the NFL handle. That's been the big worry, right? The prediction market, the Kalshis of the world, they're not cutting into the handle. People are betting on it. They're using it. They're using the prediction markets. There's a lot of money there to be had, but it's not impacting the legal sports book. It's not impacting the handle for the legal sports books. What is impacting this, and this is something that Dave Sherapin and I talked for hours about. In-game wagering is hard. It's not easy. And I've told you guys, Dave and I used to sit, and because Dave knew so much and he was such a, the depth of knowledge he had in terms of how the algorithm was going to treat the game and how he was able to watch a game and watch the number, and we would go back and forth, and I'd have multiple books open, and we'd be watching the different algorithms, and we'd be watching the game and the way the game was being played versus how the numbers were being impacted. And it happened in hockey all the time, where you could be watching the game, watching the number, and yet the total was being all over the place because the algorithm just was playing the math and it wasn't watching the game. It was simply watching the math. And so you had chances before different minute markers, if you will, as to when the number got hit, like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 12 minutes, whatever was left in the period, where you would see the algorithm, it would hit that minute mark, and all of a sudden it would flip and it would drop down. So you'd have a chance to bet different things by, you would watch that number, and Dave would say to me, okay, now watch that number. When it gets to 10 minutes left in the period, that number is going to go to 2.5. Bet the over, because the computer is going to sense that there's only half of the period left, even though we're watching this game and we know that this is going to be wide open because the offenses are going back and forth and we understand pace of play. The algorithm doesn't. So those are the things that we would do. 99.99999% of people in America don't have somebody like that who's sitting there showing them how this works. And so the public is being told, hey, betting live is so fun, right? All the reads. Live in-game wagering is great. Live in-game wagering, okay, is fucking hard. It's hard. It's not easy. I think the majority of people who do it consistently are like me, who do it to get out of bets, not to make money, to save money. I've said this for years. I don't attack the in-game market for anything except the oh shit moment. That's what gets me to open the app and to bet more consistently, is because I'm afraid of losing. Like I know I'm on the over, right? Or I'm on the dog, and like it's coming down to the wire, and I'm like, shit, I got to get out of this bet. And so I use live wagering to save my ass. Because in Vegas, there's one book now in Vegas. Caesars William Hill has now opened up the cash out feature. We haven't had that in Vegas. I've been here 10 years. We haven't had the cash out feature here in Vegas. Now we do with one book. So because of that, I would use live betting to get my ass out of a fire and be like, oh no. And I'd pull myself out. So the idea of going in there and being able to attack the algorithm, why is it not working for the books? Because no one's winning. Nobody understands it. It's a foreign language to the average person. And so that causes problems for anybody who is trying to attack the betting market, because you do hit parlays once in a while, right? every couple of weeks, you'll hit a big parlay and you're going run and tell your boys 5-leg money line parlay, $10 that paid 200, blah, blah, blah. Right. Well, those are the things that people talk about. Those are the things that people are doing. They're not betting straight. And frankly, I will take a little credit for this because I'm in the betting space. I'm in the content space. So take a podcast like The Daily Juice or a podcast like other pick podcasts that are out there, Sports Line or whatever that are out there we don't give live bets. We give you actionable information pregame to bet the games pregame. So the more that the public relies on the content world, which is becoming more and more significant because we have the time to do the work and there are more and more free podcasts. When I started The Daily Juice, there was nobody doing what I was doing. I was a unicorn in 2020 where I gave a daily podcast every single day. There were picks in your inbox. Now there's, I don't know, 10 off the top of my head that do what I do. So this is just where the public is accustomed to going and saying, all right, part of my handicap is to watch what Matt thinks. And if Matt's hot, okay, good, I'm going to follow. If Matt's cold, I'm going to fade. Or if I hear something that Matt says I wasn't aware of, well, that might change my opinion. That might change my direction, which is all normal, right? It's just, we're all guessing. We're all betting on human behavior. We just want the most amount of information at our disposal to make the best decision we can. So live betting isn't something you can research. It's right now. Hey, do you want -3 right now? And sometimes it changes before the bet even could be accepted, right? Line has changed. Do you accept the wager? Do you accept the new number? Right? So that's a problem. That gets problematic for people. And, this is true. My experience, I have not been able to get a live bet accepted. Yes, that's true. 100%. So Vinny, the boosts I am getting are for live betting, only the boosts, because they're trying to get people to bet more live. They want people to bet more live. Yeah, Joel, hating the cash out feature. I mean, I'm just not used to it. I don't have it. I know people here in Vegas who have now advocated it in Vegas from the golf betting perspective, because there's so much time between shots that if you have, pre-flop 30-1, 40-1, 50-1, these big numbers, and after the third round and then the fourth round begins, and maybe there's, your guy doesn't look good, or maybe the putter is not really clicking for him, or whatever it might be, that you can take the cash out feature for your future wagers. And even though it would have paid out more later, you can just constantly guarantee profit with the cash out feature betting golf. I think that's a very interesting way of approaching that with the cash out feature. I haven't done that yet, but cash out features is new, is new. Rudy, how are you? Thank you for what you do, Matt. Keep it up, my brother. Also, note on live betting, half the time the games be a couple. I don't know what that means, but golf, but golf you like. Yeah, golf, you can cash out. I mean, those are just things you can do with the cash out feature that is different than other times in sports gambling. So it makes perfect sense as to why the sports books would be struggling to get people to bet, to get people to want to be a part of the live wagering. It clicks. It makes sense that would happen. So just FYI, I think that squares to me that live betting is not nearly as profitable or as actionable with the public as pregame. And pregame is higher than expected from betting. And again, we've said this for, I don't know, the show now is approaching year 5. It all started with straight bets. Pre-game straight bets. It's always going to be there, regardless of what we do with parlays and in-game wagering and prediction markets and everything else. It'll always come back. It's like AM radio. AM radio started mass media broadcast communication. AM radio will end mass media broadcast communication. We started sports betting with sides, single leg sides. It'll one day end with single leg sides. They will always be there. They will always be there. Okay, guys, now time to jump down the rabbit hole with our friends at Rabbit. All right, time to head on down the rabbit hole with our friends at Rabbit. This code, Rabbit5, can get you 5 free Rabbit Cash. When you sign up at Rabbit, you can download the app in Google and the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. What is Rabbit? Well, Rabbit is the first true peer-to-peer sports picking marketplace. Think of them as the Venmo for your sports takes. You guys have group chats. Everyone's talking trash. We're going to talk UFC 325 here in just 1 second. And if you've got something that you want to talk, a number, a play, something you want real action on, they've gotten rid of the house entirely. You are fighting with your friends, not the algorithm as to who is going to take the money. You create the offer, you set the line, you challenge your friends directly. It is social, it's fair, and without the heavy vig, it's the only marketplace you can truly make your hunches happen. Check it out at Rabbit. Download the Rabbit app, create and share custom sports picks, including what we're going to talk about right now here with UFC 325. Well, let's talk about it. The main event. Alexander Volkanovski is an absolute warrior. Absolute warrior. And he is a guy who I have watched fight a ton. I have a tremendous amount of respect for him, his talents, what he's capable of doing. And in terms of just overall fight acumen, he is such a smart fighter. I was octagon side for his fight against Brian Ortega, and I watched his head literally turn purple. This guy just will not tap. The overall rounds is 4.5. This thing is going to the cards. Diego Lopez is such a difficult fighter. He's so tough. His average fight time is 10 minutes and 31 seconds, but Volkanovski's is 16 minutes and 21 seconds. If you look at the first fight between these two fighters, a 5-round war back in April of 25 that was won on the cards by Volkanovski for him to take down the belt. It was an awesome, awesome fight. It was highly entertaining. It was one of the best featherweight boxing matches I've seen. And if you are a fan of combat sports, I think you are 100% really into this fight between these two fighters. The price isn't that expensive on Alexander Volkanovski, and that's somewhat surprising. It's only minus 155 on the money line, and it's a quick rematch. And this fight is happening in Volkanovski's backyard, essentially. And for that reason, it being in Sydney, South Wales, Australia, or New South Wales, Australia, I have a hard time picking Diego Lopez to win this fight because I think this fight's going to the cards. And if this fight goes to the cards, unless Alexander Volkanovski looks nothing like he did in the first match, I just don't think he loses. Volkanovski, 6.18 strikes landed per minute. Lopez, 4.1. Strikes absorbed per minute, 3.36 for Alexander. For Diego, 4.72. That's too much. That against Volkanovski, if you're open like that and he can crack you, I don't care about the age difference being 6 years between these fighters. It just comes down to overall fight acumen. Alexander Volkanovski lost to Ilia Topuria and lost to Makhachev. I mean, Islam Makhachev is an absolute beast. Ilia Topuria is just, I mean, he vacated the belt here in this division, but he just is a ridiculous fighter. His boxing is insane. And he was able to stop Alexander Volkanovski, but he stops everybody. I mean, he knocked out Alexander the Great, but Ilia knocked out everybody. There's nothing wrong with that. People thought that meant he was on the way down. He got head kicked in the first round against Makhachev, and that was somewhat of a surprise, but it's Islam. I mean, the guy's an incredible fighter. So he lost twice to Makhachev. And so he lost once on the cards and then once with a head kick being knocked out. People thought that this was like Volkanovski's, the end of his career. I just don't think it is. And I think Diego Lopez is a tremendous fighter. I just think he is up against it. I really do. I think he's up against it here. I think the fight goes to the cards. I would bet the over 4.5 rounds. I think this thing is, I would be very surprised to see either fighter knock out the other. I don't see this thing going down. Average takedowns 1.67 for Volkanovski. Lopez is even less per 15 minutes, 0.79. Takedown accuracy is 34% for Volkanovski. That's brutal. 55% for Diego Lopez. That's not much better. Both guys have pretty good takedown defenses at 70 and 67% of each other. Jean Silva, we just saw him fight at UFC 234 last weekend, and he won. The Silva fight won by Diego Lopez. So he's coming off of a win, a knockout win over Silva, who just won by decision with his fight at UFC 324 against Arnold Allen, which was an absolute war. That was a really fun fight. That was the fight in which Silva jumped off the back of Allen, in case you've seen that highlight. But I just, to me, Volkanovski in Australia, if the fight goes to the cards, I'm sorry, I don't see them giving a decision to Diego Lopez. And I don't care how tough the kid is. I think the money line is too cheap to pass up here. You can find 155, 150 in the market. Bet Chris Arizona's at 155. I'm coming in here and I'm laying it. Give me the 155. I'm laying it down with Volkanovski to win the main event at UFC 325 on Saturday night. It should be an awesome fight. Really going to be a fun card as well for the UFC. Let's wrap it with my favorite thing about today. We'll be quick here. My favorite thing about today is that this has been fun to do it like this, where we're giving you guys the debut premiere episode on YouTube. It's not a live show, but it looks like a live show. And then we replay it on Sports Grid Television. So far, so good. So this has been a new way, a new game. Tomorrow on a Friday, we'll have more of a mixture of new and old. But I did all of the Wednesday and Thursday show while I was still in Vegas. Tomorrow Friday will be in New Orleans. So you'll get some New Orleans story. I'm going to Friday night. I'm going to a Pelicans game against the Memphis Grizzlies. We'll have some stories, I'm sure, from Bourbon Street and other stuff as well coming up on Friday's program. We're back tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern time on our YouTube channel and replayed on Sports Grid Television at 1 a.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. Pacific time for a Friday's Bostonian versus the Book.